So here we go. Welcome to another video. Today I'm joined by good old Joe Donahue for the Yorkshire Evening Post, covering all things Leeds United to discuss and get some insight on Town's recent recruit, Leif Davis, of course, signing on a permanent deal from Leeds. Joe, first of all, thanks for joining me, my friend.
No, thank you for having me. Thanks for the invitation. Yeah, look forward to chatting a bit about Leif Davis. Yeah.
Let's get right into it then, Joe, and let's talk about just the signing itself. What was your thoughts and your reaction when you saw this news?
Well, obviously the rumours came out a little bit earlier, sort of in the summer, before Leeds went on their pre-season tour of Australia, which Davis did go on, and he played a couple of games out there. It was one which did make sense to us from sort of a Leeds angle, because I'm sure we'll get into it, but Davis has been at Leeds for the past 4 years, and there was never a point where, I mean, he's played 14 games in that period. There was never a point where he was able to get a run in the side, and he was always sort of between the under-23 team, the first team bench, and then last season out on loan at Bournemouth, where again he struggled a little bit with injury and then couldn't really get a look in as they went and got promoted. So it's been a stop-start period for him. So for him to get a move to a leading League One club, who you'd imagine are going to field him week in, week out, playing Tuesday, Saturday every week. It's on the face of things, looks like a good move for both, well, for all parties essentially.
Indeed, yeah, he's still very young. He's only 22 years of age. As you mentioned, he did have that injury. He's had a few injuries, of course, and surgery back in 2019. And of course, Bielsa was at the club, and it seems like he was a big fan of Davis in the early days there. Of course, there's a great clip saying "Very good, Davis" on the touchline behind closed doors era, stuff like that. Let's quickly mention Bielsa and talk about, would he have had more of a chance if Bielsa stayed on, or do you think Davis it just wasn't the time for him because he was still very young?
I think it's difficult to say, but on the whole, typically, players who went out on loan and ultimately Bielsa will have sanctioned his loan to Bournemouth last season. Under him, young players who did tend to go out on loan didn't really come back and star regularly in the first team. So I think it's probably a safe estimate to say that Davis probably would have left this summer anyway if Bielsa had stayed. So it was always going to be a case of, with 1 year left. Well, 1 year was left on his Leeds contract when he signed for Ipswich. That there was always that likelihood, that the possibility was that this was essentially the last opportunity Leeds would have to get some money for him, and also just for Leif Davis to find a club which is going to give him regular minutes. And I think that's been at the forefront of both Leeds and Davis's thinking in pushing through this move.
Indeed, and let's talk about his strengths. And I'd never like to say weaknesses, but things he needs to work on. What would you say is his strengths? You can watch clips and all that sort of stuff, the highlight reels, but games you've seen him in, what are his strengths?
I mean, the majority of the watching that I did of him was sort of in the under 23s and under 21 setup, and then it was his first team appearances were always in sort of fits and starts, so it was difficult to get a gauge on where he was best at senior football. And then admittedly, I didn't watch a great deal of him at Bournemouth, but he always had a very good burst of pace. He's very good at getting forward. He can really motor down that left flank, and he can get a ball into the box as well. He's a modern day fullback essentially. He does have his defensive fundamentals locked down pretty well. He does get forward quite adeptly, but in terms of weaknesses, I think just an element of consistency, but that might come with game time. But it's one of those intangibles at the moment where he didn't get consistent game time. So how can you say he's consistent? So that's not a slant towards him whatsoever. I think the fact that he was on loan at a championship club last season. There were championship clubs in for him this year, but the fact that Ipswich have got him, I think he's going to be a good signing for League One, and I think for League One the fee reflects that as well.
And you said he's attacking minded. I think nowadays, you said modern left backs, left wing backs, and of course that's the role we have at the moment. We have a good right wing back in Wes Burns, who's very quick and very dynamic like that. And Leif Davis probably is going to play on the left side. How would you rate his crossing, his work rate? As you said, when he's been playing on 23 football, you said he's too good for that level. And there's a lot of players like that. They're playing there for too long. They go out on loan, and sometimes it's too quick for them.
Yeah, I mean I'd say that he's ready for senior football. He has been for a while, and he showed that at Bournemouth last year. It wasn't as though he was thrown in the deep end there. So I think the speed and the physicality of League One will be absolutely fine for him. His work rate is very good. I mean, as any young player coming through the Leeds system under Marcelo Bielsa, you know, your work rate had to be good to be anywhere near the first team. So I think from a fitness point of view and also just a general endeavour to work back, do the dirty work, track back, there shouldn't be any issues there for him. I think his crossing's decent. It's not sort of, you know, it's not world leading, but I mean, you know, he would have been staying at Leeds if that was the case. But you know, he's good at getting into positions where he can then deliver a good ball. And you know, the further down the levels you go, obviously you get those extra half second more to maybe line your cross up or something. So maybe that's an area where he can really benefit his new team. So it's decent. I mean, I'd say probably his interplay in and around the box is not as good as his crossing. He's more sort of a fullback who will, if he doesn't dribble inside and doesn't have the room to go inside, he will go down the line and try and get across in. So he does offer sort of a two-way versatility in that sense, but it's not sort of one way or the other where he will always try and go down the flank or he will always try and come inside. But if he does come inside, it typically will be with the ball at his feet rather than sort of playing your 1-2s.
And the games you've seen him in, can he take set pieces or do you think he leaves that to someone else?
I mean, I don't know enough about Ipswich to say about your set piece specialists or your takers or anything like that. But he's got good technique. It might be the case that he goes in and trains and you know the club decide that, you know, actually he's probably one of the better ones. I imagine he's probably got a very good in swinging corner on him. There's been occasions where I think he's taken them for the 23s, but I can't really think of too many off the top of my head. But technique wise, I think his technique is good enough. Yeah.
And he's had an interesting sort of career to date, really. If you think about it, he was at Morecambe's academy, and then of course he joined Leeds at a young age. And he said in his interview, he likes doing the dirty work, which is always good to see players getting stuck in, getting back to defend. Would you say he's shown that in the under-23s and some of the games he played for Leeds?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as I said about work rate, you know, you have to have that a little bit of metal about you to survive in a Leeds team. You know, there was under Marcelo Bielsa, there was weekly sessions of something called murder ball, which was essentially just you know, no stoppages in play. No, as soon as the ball went out of play, a coach would be kicking another ball in. So there was basically no time for rest, and you know, they would go on for ages. And that really, I mean, that developed Leeds into the animal that ended up becoming promoted a couple of seasons ago. So he was a part of that. He was a part of that championship winning squad. Admittedly, didn't play an awful lot, but you know, was training every day, was in and around that group. So I think, you know, he's doing the dirty work will come easily to him. It is an interesting career path that he's taken, but you know, at the time. Then he moved to Morecambe because he's from the northeast, and it was a bit of a recruitment drive from Morecambe at that time to pick up lads from that part of the world and take them there and develop them, and obviously Leeds picked him up. I think it shows that he's got good character. He's willing to sort of take a leap of faith, left, right, and centre. I mean, he's 22 years old. He's from Newcastle. He's played at Morecambe, he's played at Leeds, he's gone all the way down to Bournemouth. Now he's coming to Ipswich. He doesn't have any concerns. He's very much, you know, career focused and career driven. So I think that bodes well.
It does indeed, and yeah, 22 years of age. Yeah, it's a long-term signing as well for Town. Hopefully this will be the year we get out of League One. This is our 4th year in League One, and hopefully this could be the year, and I'm sure he's going to be a key part of that. To round off this chat, Joe, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for joining me. Any other business, anything else you want to mention, my friend? It's a good signing overall, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good signing overall. I mean, for Leeds fans, he'll always be remembered as that touchline shout that Bielsa said. It was a very good Davis and a very sort of Argentinian twang to it, which was quite novel because Bielsa, as many people know, didn't speak English in his public facing stuff. So to hear him saying that on the training pitch or during a friendly, I think it was was something which Leeds fans latched onto. And yeah, I just hope that he's able to play regularly and he's able to show what he's been capable of in fits and starts. And yeah, I do think it's a good signing for all parties if he can stay fit.
Hopefully you can do. Well, Joe, thanks for joining me. Thanks everyone for watching. Let us know your thoughts, your feelings on this signing. Lee Davies is the next one. Bye-bye for now.